Yeah.
Now, as an R&B artist, you're put in a corner because your chart is adult contemporary, and you're nothing if you don't jump on a hip hop track with somebody and do a hook.
I think R&B helped usher in hip hop, but I don't think that hip hop, when it became the end all be all for the industry, it's everything. I don't think it reached back enough to R&B as far as like saying, okay, you did this for me, let me do this for you.
Just, you know, for all of us who loved R&B, we started to notice towards the time when you guys came out how much hip hop was being pushed by the labels. And it just meant that a lot of our groups, Jodeci, even Boys to Men, all these groups that we loved, even SWV, when I interviewed Lily, was saying, yeah, their third album was pretty much hip hop collabs.
Now, I do say that third record, that Release Some Tension record, was horrible. With that record was so bad. And I think, you know, that was actually after, you know, they made some label changes, and the guy, the A&R who found SWV and all of those amazing records, for some reason, they let him go and brought somebody else in who totally destroyed that album. And he knows how I feel about that today, so I ain't saying nothing. But I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it sells. Yeah,
felt like that was a waste of our budget. I felt like, you know, it was all of these damn rappers featuring SWV. I felt like we was on somebody else's album.
Yeah.
And it was a waste of our budget. You know, it was just that, just the thought. Rain saved that record.
Yeah.
Rain saved that record because that was the only reason I listened to that record. I ain't played nothing except for, I think it was a song on there called On and On. Andrea Martin wrote that song.
God rest her soul.
Yeah, and everything she did I thought was dope, but
yeah,
the album just had all of these rappers on there, and I'm like,
I mean, and it's easy for us to start to think that when you know, it's as easy as coming together, recording an album and promoting it, and then at the same time, hip hop was becoming a lot more profitable for the labels because there was very little overhead. You know, you didn't, you know, and they were just thinking, well, this is becoming a lot more of a crossover hip hop, becoming more pop. So they were like shelving R&B and an investment in R&B. So they didn't give much space for flops or for if an album's not doing well, you know what.
Exactly. Well, you know what? Well, for the second album, I really didn't understand what happened because Women Girls, that was so huge that there really didn't need to be much of a push from the label. I think it started out with, you know, promotion and all that good stuff, but it did so well on its own and blew up, I think, bigger than maybe even they anticipated, that they kind of just let it coast. But it definitely should have been more of a push behind that even. But well, at that time though, I think Sonia was managing us. Brandy's mother, Sonia Norwood, was managing us that album. And I'm sure there were things that she was dealing with the label that we had no idea. You know, and that's always another issue. Like we just learned recently, like that our third album they didn't really push it. I think that's where Kadar was there. He kind of just put it on the shelf because he and management were like bumping heads. So who cares about your lives, girls? Like my ego and your man's ego are conflicting, and I don't like him, so I'm about to put your album on the shelf and screw you.
Yeah.
Because when we came out, you know, we were singing about love. The thing about R&B back then was that you had Maxwell, D'Angelo, me, you had Usher, you had R. Kelly, Joe,
Brian
McKnight, Eric Benet, Chico DeBarge. I mean, you had a lot of, you had Carl Thomas, Dave Hollister. The funny thing about it is that we all sang R&B, but we all had our own styles. Nobody sounded the same. You know, and we all sang about love. in different ways. You know, you had some guys was more about sex, some guys was more about relationships, other guys were about both.
What was your relationship with the other bands, other groups that were out there about that time?
I always tell people like the 90s was so much fun. Like when you got on tour with Guy and and Teddy Riley, and when you get on a tour, it was like fun for you because you just want to go back to the dressing room. You kind of want to be the first one to go on. So you can go back to the dressing room, take the sweat off your face and watch. It was like such a great experience because you had so many great people on that tour that you loved, you honestly loved them. Like I would say, even with the girl artists, like with all the girl groups, it was just like so many, but none the same, none the same. And you could go to a show that had SWV on the lineup, In Vogue on the lineup, Escape on the lineup. I can keep going, Changing Faces, Jeanne, let's do that. Let's do Jeanne. Even if you had Changing Faces and Jeanne, you could close your eyes and you would know each and every group that was on that show. You would know the difference. So that's what I loved because you were able, every vibe was different. You know what I'm saying? It was no one like the other. And that's what made that time fun. Even for guy groups, maybe there may have been a couple, because men, their voices, because sometimes the range is not as, but outside of that, you can close your eyes and kind of know who's on that stage singing. And that's what I loved about the 90s, because everybody had their own thing and they were not trying to be who they weren't. They were true to who they are. And I think that's why we felt the music so much.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of similarities between with a lot of the female singers today. They sing in a certain high pitch, which you can barely hear the lyrics of what they're singing, and the same type of tone. And yes, there was very much of a distinction in the 90s. So if I heard Changing Faces or SWV or Total, I knew you didn't need to. They didn't need to introduce. You could tell the different distinction.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the auto-tune, because auto-tune to me just makes everyone sound the same. It depends on how much you put on it. So to everybody, and well, I don't know, a lot of people sound the same, the songs sound the same, so you really don't know who is who. And like you said, in the 90s, it was a lot of us, but you knew who was who.
Yeah.
So music has changed. The techniques have changed.
Let me try to break it down to you. And because what the females are doing, they're talking about love. They're talking about what they're going through. The guys is trying to be rappers, man, and talk about smashing chicks and can I fuck you over here and all of this. And that has its place. But the females are singing about real shit that they're going through, real love situations, you know what I'm saying? And that's what people are gravitating to, because that's the real, that's what's happening. Life is happening and people are going through ups and downs in relationships. Everything ain't about just screwing somebody. And so they're talking about all of it. Whereas the guys are talking about the same thing over and over again. How can I get a chick in the bed, or what, or how many cars I got? I mean, and at some point it gets a little bit old because all of them talking about the same thing. And I think that's why the females are holding it down, because they're really singing about something.
And the one thing people will be known that you're very consistent about the message of love in music and how much of a difference that makes and stuff. And it's true, the females do talk about either broken relationships or you've messed me over and I loved you and stuff. And I think people are resonating to that.
It is, man. These guys, man, they too hard. Man, they too hard to say, man, she hurt me. I'm hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I go to sleep and I think about her. These guys, they too hard to sing about that, man. They want to be rappers, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's not really R&B. R&B is when you can put your heart on your sleeve and you can talk about some things that you're really going through. Guys hurt too. We got feelings too. You know what I'm saying? We go through ups and downs too. You got to put it on record. You know what I'm saying? You can't be looking like you're hard all the time. That's not realistic.
Like hip hop was taking over.
Yeah.
Because ironically, it's like let's just be honest, R&B helped usher in a lot of hip hop at the time.
Because they're gonna a Jill Scott record, you might sell 100,000 copies right now on a single. You got somebody like Little Uzi or Boozy or Woozy or whatever his name is. He put out a single and make $60 million off of it.
Wow.
And get 500 million streams.
So it's a different game, and so is it the
Totally
limit?
different game. Totally different game. You're not getting signed off of talent. You're getting signed off of how many followers you have, how many streams you have. That's what it is.
Music industry is now, the chart is, instead of having a hip hop chart, it's hip hop R&B.
Yeah.
And then finally it's adult contemporary. So now R&B doesn't have its own chart anymore. It's hip hop R&B. So you see it gradually changing. First you had hip hop, now it's intertwined with hip hop. So that's making it smaller. Then it's okay, let's just take them all the way off and put them over here on adult contemporary. Which that stung because, now you're saying, now you're not only moving R&B artists, we deserve our own chart. Let's just keep it that way. Yeah. But we never deserved a chart to be combined with hip hop. Hip hop deserves its own chart, don't you think? Yeah. So my thing is, everybody deserves their own chart. But then to take the R&B chart and instead of just giving it back to R&B, you say adult contemporary.
You noticed the effects of how hip hop was.
Oh yeah, I definitely noticed it. Yeah, I mean, we used to love it because I remember it used to be R&B and hip hop, and then hip hop started to get bigger. Then it became hip hop and R&B.
Yeah.
The station started tagging the station. We had 95.9 hip hop and R&B. First it was 95.9 R&B and hip hop. You know what I mean? But we play the best of R&B hip hop. Now we play the best of hip hop and R&B. We was like, what? Y'all switching it? Y'all about to switch that thing back? But hey, what can you say? Another genre that Black people have made in America that has taken over the world. You know what I mean? So it just shows you, how powerful we are. And I take ownership of it. I ain't mad at it. At the end of the day, still my brothers at the end of the day that's doing it.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you for being part of Halftime Chats. This new update is really about our membership, and I'm really excited to be able to fully launch the membership page. There will be things like full interviews from day one. As soon as the interview drops, you get access to it without any ads on it. There'll be some exclusive member-only videos that will just be some behind-the-scenes stuff and some other things that we will never be broadcast. For some members, you can be able to get actually 2 interviews because I do have a backlog of almost 7 or 8 interviews that I don't even know when I'm going to be able to broadcast them. So you're able to get at least some of those up front, and some just behind the scenes stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that I have never been able to talk about or release. For everyone else, the videos will still be the same. Over a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks, depending on how long it is. So everything stays the same. The polls stay the same. The community chats, the community stuff stays the same. But I think with the membership stuff, I'm able to add a little bit more and invest a lot more time and energy in really supporting the members. So I do hope you come on that ride with me. I appreciate the support, and this will just help me continue to invest in taking things to the next level. Take care.